Hey everybody, welcome to the Hills Are Silent podcast. I'm Two-Tone.
And I'm Mitch the Peach.
And in this podcast, we chop it up about the games of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Let's get into it. What's going on, Mitch? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I mean, a lot going on this weekend. I've been at the Riot Fest festival that started yesterday. Went and saw a few bands that I really wanted to see, like My Chemical Romance. They did a great job. Sound just like when I was a kid.
Nice.
Going back today, later this afternoon, and maybe tomorrow if I have energy left. I don't know. I'm getting old. 30 years old. 3-day festivals. I don't know if I can do those anymore.
yeah, and you just turned 30.
Yep, fresh 30.
Yeah. So who's playing on the third day?
The third day is let's see, Jimmy Eat World is one big one that I want to see. Who else? A few more pop punk bands that I like Real Friends, The Main, The Academy which is a throwback one to when I was a kid as well. So a lot of throwback bands. It's usually Riot Fest is in a nutshell.
All right, nice, man.
Yeah, except that the main thing is this is going to be their last year at this park because the people that live in the neighborhood have been so pissed off about the noise and the trash and and the park being destroyed afterwards. So they've been picketing and I guess doing a little bit of not so nice spray painting all over the outside of the venue.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah, it's a little wild, but no, the concert itself is awesome though. It's a great festival.
That's good.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, does the festival have another venue lined up for next year, or is that still to be determined?
They do. It looks like they're gonna take it outside of Chicago though, into like a town called Bridgeview. It's gonna be more like all on concrete in a parking lot. So I don't think it's gonna be as good as it is now.
Yeah. Part of the cool thing of outdoor festivals is you're outdoors in nature, laying in the grass, trees around you.
Yep. And it's a perfect park that they have right now. The setup's great. It's a shame that they're going to be leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, but enough about me. What have you been up to lately?
Yeah, so I myself also went to a concert. My fiance and I went to Boston, Massachusetts to go see Rammstein,
Nice.
which is one of my favorite bands from childhood all the way into adulthood. Still one of my favorite bands. I've seen them once before. They came to Atlanta in 2012. So this is the first time they've been back to the States in 10 years.
Wow.
And
that's when you couldn't miss then.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they don't come very often because if I remember correctly, the time they were in the U.S. before 2012 was like 2000, 2001. So yeah, they only come around every 10 or so years. So if they come to your town, go see them.
All right.
First of all,
Noted.
even if you don't like their music, their live show is epic. They've got this incredible stage that they shipped all the way from Europe, and it was a stadium tour. And they build this thing up. You can watch a time lapse of it online of them putting it together, and it's absolutely incredible.
Wow.
And
did you drive from where you live to Massachusetts?
So it's an 18-hour drive. So we decided to fly.
Nah, that's smart.
And I was supposed to get the ticket earlier on, the plane tickets, because Yesenia was telling me, she's like, hey, tickets are pretty cheap right now. It's like $100 for a round-way trip.
These days, that's real cheap.
Yeah, and I put it off, and then by the time I actually went to buy the tickets, they were way more expensive. And I was like, damn it, dude. Just knowing I could have gotten them cheaper just made it that much worse.
Yep.
But yeah, we flew. We stayed at her sister's house because her sister lives out there.
That's convenient. That'd save you some money.
Yeah. And, the show's great. If you don't know about Rammstein, they're all about fire. The stage shoots fire. They bring out flamethrowers. They have all kinds of crazy contraptions that are just constantly shooting out fire. So their pyrotechnics are top notch, and they are definitely
that sounds wild.
So I recommend them 10 years from now when they come back.
Right. There we go.
But anyway, man, let's go ahead and roll into talking about some video games.
Let's do it.
There's been a lot going on. First and foremost, at least for me anyway, is that id Software has set up some new dedicated servers for the old game Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, which is the old multiplayer for the game Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Yeah, and in us growing up, though, I know Wolfenstein is near and dear to your heart, so I'm sure you're excited about this.
Yeah, absolutely. On the original Xbox, Return to Castle Wolfenstein to me was like the killer Xbox Live app back in the OG Xbox days. Played tons of hours of that. Had a clan with some friends, and we would just play matches every night. You know, we had a pretty good record back then too. We were actually pretty decent. And but I mostly played it on Xbox. I have played Enemy Territory on PC back then around that time, because shortly after I hadn't gotten an Xbox, I got a okay gaming PC. But I would love to dive back in and play some classic Enemy Territory multiplayer.
Yeah, I think watching you play Wolfenstein was when I started begging my parents to get faster than dial-up internet, so I could run some Xbox Live and play some games. Because yeah, I was addicted from first sight watching you play online against other people.
Yeah, and it only got better from there, because then we got Halo 2 and a slew of other games on Xbox Live. But yeah, the reason why id set up these servers is because, like most old games that are still live on PC, the servers nowadays are heavily modded. So, you know, like Counter-Strike and like the original Counter-Strike and other games like that, you'll join a server and you'll download custom maps, custom mods automatically by joining the server. And then it'll be cool. There's some amazing things that modders do, but it's just not like the vanilla experience of how it was originally meant to be played. So that's
you're not getting the full nostalgia for, you know, if it's modded heavily.
Exactly. So that's pretty much the main reason why id set this up, is so you could have that original experience. So I'm definitely diving into it this weekend.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I might have to join you.
Yeah. But anyway, beyond that, I think you were telling me that the classic Goldeneye is getting re-released.
Yes, yeah, pretty exciting there too. There's a couple Goldeneyes coming our way. So there's the OG Goldeneye coming to the expansion pass with Nintendo Switch Online. So it's the original Goldeneye, but they also added an online multiplayer feature to that, which I think is pretty wild, considering they can just port that and then throw an online capability onto it. So aside from that, though, their Xbox is also going to remaster GoldenEye for set for Game Pass day one. So they're gonna keep the charm of it, but also you know, pump the resolution and get to up to 4K and you know, better frame rates, whatnot. You know, obviously make it playable from a little more playable than when it was on the 64.
Yeah, man. I mean, I loved GoldenEye back in the day, but like most other N64 games, frame rate was horrible. You know, super low resolution. And back then, you would play split screen, and when stuff got intense with a lot of explosions, it would drop to like 10, 12 frames per second. You'd just be like, trying to hit somebody. But yeah, bringing online multiplayer to an old N64 game like that's pretty epic.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm hoping to get the friends to get on and play some online there, and hopefully it brings back that nostalgia feel we were talking about earlier. I mean,
absolutely,
it'll be fun.
Countless hours on GoldenEye.
Absolutely. Yep, a lot of the screen peeking when it was acceptable.
Yeah. Even when we said it wasn't.
Right.
No screen cheating, man. No,
Yeah.
you screen cheated. That's the only reason you killed me.
Exactly.
But yeah, but screen cheating was perfect for proximity mines. Because you'd be like,
It
oh, they're
was.
coming around the corner, throw a proximity mine. You know they're running around the door, get blown up.
Yeah. You can switch it around to where, it's more hurting the screen peeker than anything.
Yeah. So my question is going to be, I mean, maybe not for the Nintendo Switch release, but for the Xbox release, are they going to change the controller scheme?
Yeah, that's a great question actually, because they're gonna have to. I mean, with compared to obviously a Nintendo 64 controller, it'll be very different. I bet they make it so it's very similar to every other shooter, on the platform.
Yeah. Because, yeah,
But I guess there's really no aiming in 007, so in GoldenEye,
Exactly.
so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, for those who aren't, who haven't played the original GoldenEye, um, it had a very different controller scheme for a first-person shooter than what we're used to today in modern first-person shooters. The original N64 controller only had one analog stick, so you couldn't use dual analog sticks for moving and aiming. So most of the game you run around and there's a heavy use of auto aim. So as long as your character is just looking at an enemy, when you pull the trigger, your character will automatically shoot. But it wouldn't always shoot at the guy you were intending to shoot at. So you could hold down the shoulder button and it would bring up a reticle that you could then aim. But when you were doing that, you couldn't move at the same time. So if Microsoft and Rare actually somehow are able to incorporate dual analog sticks so it plays like a modern first-person shooter, that would be very interesting. But I'm not necessarily expecting that. I'm kind of thinking that it will be the original controller scheme. But that remains to be seen.
Yeah, and I wonder how, if they do change it up to more of a modern first-person shooter, how that would change the game itself. Like, how would it have the same feel as it did when we were younger?
Yeah, probably not. And it would probably make the single player like way easier.
Yeah, that's for sure. It almost feel like Halo, just because the old Halos without being able to scope either. I mean, you had the the good Xbox controller, but you couldn't scope like you're in on like GoldenEye.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to both those releases. I did play the GoldenEye mod for, I think, Half-Life 2 it was, like GoldenEye Source.
Okay.
And that's fun, but it doesn't feel anything like GoldenEye. It's got the levels, the sound effects, the same weapons, but it feels like Counter-Strike, just skinned as GoldenEye. And I did see on Steam there is a game coming out that is heavily inspired by GoldenEye. Like, it's going to have Nintendo 64 style graphics, and it's gonna play a lot like GoldenEye. Of course, they don't have the James Bond license, so they're calling it something else. Oh man, I cannot remember the name of that.
I love when games are what they're doing nowadays in modernizing, I guess, like the old school graphics and just making them feel newer, but still have that nostalgia effect with the graphics. I know Square Enix is doing that quite a bit.
Yeah, it's called Agent 64. Spies Never Die.
Clever.
Man, and yeah, I'm looking at the screenshots, and I'm telling you, it looks just like GoldenEye. It's going to be like the GoldenEye sequel we never got. At least I hope so. I got high expectations.
I say that's pretty exciting. There's a lot of that James Bond stuff coming back then.
Yeah.
I mean, then the nostalgia's there for James Bond. I mean, they could make a brand new James Bond, completely revamped. I feel like people would really enjoy it.
I think so.
Throw it in like the Hitman engine, man, that'd be kind of cool.
Oh yeah. If IO Interactive were to make the next GoldenEye game, they're like the perfect people for it.
Yeah, literally.
But anyway, speaking of Nintendo 64, I was in Gulf Shores, Alabama for the 4th of July, and there's a retro video game store out there that I like to check out anytime we visit Gulf Shores. And I've been looking for a USB N64 controller that I can use with N64 emulation on my PC, because right now, I mean, I just play N64 games with an Xbox controller, and I mean, it works, but mapping the N64 buttons to an Xbox controller is
a bit of a pain.
It's a bit of a pain, and it doesn't match the on-screen prompts for what button to press, and it just doesn't give that N64 feel, because, man, that controller is iconic. It
really is.
It may be weird, it may not have been like the greatest design controller, but part of the N64 experience and feel was the use of that controller.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you can get N64 USB controllers on Amazon for pretty cheap, but they're usually don't feel very well. Like, the buttons are real stiff, or it's just not the right experience. The thumbstick doesn't have the same range of motion.
I've definitely done that with GameCube controllers I bought off eBay. Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
They don't feel the same as the original.
Yeah. And I'm not saying like the original was the best, but maybe it might have been, but it's just what my brain is used to, is being like, this is right. This is the right feel. So anyway, I looked into getting those. I looked into getting some of the more modern N64 controllers that are built to work with Switch and PC, because cool. They do have a USB plug, but oftentimes they're pretty drastically remodeled. But when I was at that retro video game store, I found a adapter. So on one end it's USB. On the other end, you can actually plug in an original N64 controller. So It literally just converts your original N64 controller to a USB PC controller.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so
I guess to branch off of that, I remember back in the day playing Pokemon Stadium, and basically it was a Nintendo licensed product where you could plug something into your controller so that you could play Pokemon on the big screen, which is always something I wanted to do. I love my Game Boy, but at some points, I want to play Pokemon on the big screen, and Pokemon Stadium gave me that option to as long as you buy another, another pack, so another $20 I got to ask my dad for. But that was cool to be able to have that feature. I wish they did it for more games than just Pokemon.
Yeah, dude, playing Game Boy games on the original Game Boy was rough.
Definitely, especially when in the nighttime when I'm in bed, I'm trying to like sneak and play some Game Boy for an extra hour before bed, and having to use a little worm light that barely can you still can barely see even with the light.
Yeah.
But I don't know, lots of nostalgia with all the 64 talk and whatnot.
Yeah, man. All right, well, moving into some more modern stuff, you and I have both been playing a lot of Xbox GamePass, both individually and together in some co-op games. We recently played Wolfenstein, Youngbloods together through Game Pass, which that game gets a lot of hate. I think it's pretty decent.
I think it's good for co-op. I don't know if I'd play by myself, but playing with somebody else, like it's enjoyable. Like it's a great experience.
Yeah. But yeah, man, Game Pass has been a great deal. You and I also played through Gears of War 5.
We did Gears of War 5. I don't know. It's just nice for whenever you and I, whenever we do get a chance to game together, when we can literally look through the catalog and be like, okay, that's co-op. We can try it out. There's a lot of options. I think for me personally, a lot of the I would have never played half the games that I've played if it weren't for Game Pass. There've been so many like really like fun indie games that they just throw on there day one that they don't expect to blow up, and they do. I just think Game Pass is a great way to, give these smaller developers a chance to, to get on the big stage and like I guess get to a bigger audience. But
Yeah.
even bigger developers like MLB The Show, like they just came over to Xbox. They've been a PlayStation exclusive for a long time. Xbox has never had a baseball game, which is just strange. But just recently they brought it over to Xbox, and Xbox is like, hey, let's just give it to them day one on Game Pass. So like I haven't had to buy, the yearly sports game for the past 2 years. It's just been on Game Pass day one. It's been great.
And you bring up a good point about indie games because I'm less likely to just take a chance on an indie game and buy it. That's my hard-earned cash.
Exactly.
And I'm very picky about which games I'm going to get. Actually, that's a lie. I buy way too many games.
Same.
But anyway, yeah, if for an indie game, I probably wouldn't have just bought it. So having it available through Xbox Game Pass definitely is, I'm like, okay, I'll try it out now. I already have it through Game Pass. Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And they're always giving deals on it too. And I mean, like it just looking back at it, like I don't feel like I'm wasting money, like paying the monthly subscription for it just because I don't know. I've completed so many games from it that I would have probably spent 20, 30, even up to $60 on it. So I feel like it's been well worth it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just a subscription model is great. It's similar to how we're streaming TV shows and movies now. In music, like Spotify, like it just kind of makes sense that we access our games the same way.
Right. Exactly.
And played through all the Halos on Game Pass.
Right. Yeah. It's nice that Microsoft's bought all these properties because everything that they bought just comes right over to Game Pass day one. So that makes it nice. But yeah, speaking of Halo, while it's near and dear to my heart, I'm not too thrilled with Halo Infinite currently. I just don't think 343 has done the job they've needed to do since being given this property from Microsoft when Bungie left. They fumbled when the Master Chief Collection came out a long time ago. The servers were awful for for a solid couple months when it first came out, all the way up to now with Halo Infinite, where it doesn't feel like they're even introducing any content at a reasonable rate. They still don't have campaign co-op online, which I think is crazy that it wasn't introduced when the game came out.
Yeah, man, I haven't even touched Halo Infinite because like my habit has always been to beat the campaign and co-op first, then step into the multiplayer. So I haven't even touched Halo Infinite since it came out. I was like, I'll play it when campaign co-op is released. And I mean, here we are, like over a year later, and it's still not out.
Still not out. Yeah, the campaign co-op's not out. I did complete the story, and I'll give them credit. Like the story itself, and they took it in a good direction. I enjoyed it, but in the same breath, they're just missing everything else that they needed for this game, like the co-op feature, even the Forge feature, which I mean was huge in Halo 3 when that came out. They still haven't released that, and it's been a year plus. And there's been so many people that looked forward to that Forge feature since release, and yeah, they say it's on the way soon, but they released their roadmap with the content that they have coming out, but they really only give like windows of 6 months of when things are coming out, so it's still not even like set in stone.
Damn. Yeah, it could be out in the next half year. For the
Right. It's like
for the campaign, how long did it take you to beat that?
honestly, it wasn't that long. I even did a lot of the side stuff because they opened it up. It's not it's not linear as it used to be. They've opened it up and made it the traditional open world that everybody wants nowadays. But even with doing a lot of the side content, I don't know, it probably only took me about 10, 15 hours. Like it wasn't
Oh,
super
really?
long.
Yeah, when I heard open world, I was like, is this going to be like a 50, 60, 100 hour campaign or something?
Maybe if I went and did some more, I'm sure there's side stuff that I didn't get to that I could have, but
Hmm.
for everything I felt like I needed to do or that seemed like interesting to do, it didn't take me that long.
Oh, okay. That's interesting to know. Well,
But yeah, all in all, I mean, it's sad because I really looked forward to this game and I wanted to dive in and play a lot of multiplayer with friends again and, back to the nostalgia factor. Like Halo 2 was my bread and butter when I growing up. So whenever a new one comes out, like I want it to be so solid and that I want everybody to be playing it, but it just hasn't been the case lately.
yeah. Well, I think one issue is that Halo was a game that was its own thing. It came out, I mean, yes, it was a first person shooter, which has been done before, but it just had a style and flavor of its own. And when it came out, it was such a big phenomenon that so many other games followed in its footsteps. But at some point, that has shifted to where now Halo is trying to follow in the footsteps of everything else instead of continuing to be its own unique thing. And it's
Right.
kind of lost its identity trying to keep up with other games. Like, sometimes, I mean, it's great to be inspired and to do things how other people or games are doing things, but when your whole foundation was you were this unique great game, you shouldn't be chasing the identity of other games.
And I really wonder when Bungie left if they wanted to take Halo into that different direction to maybe, not keep it the status quo and make it more like or what Destiny is right now.
Hmm.
And I don't know, maybe the Xbox execs are like, no, we want Halo to be Halo and not, branch out as much. But I mean, Bungie created Destiny, and Destiny is still a very popular franchise.
Yeah, and I've played through Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, at least like the vanilla versions. Like I
Right.
haven't played any expansions or anything. Because that, I mean, that's like a full time job playing Destiny. If you were
Yeah,
to
it
try to
really
touch
is.
everything in that game, it's too much. But if you just want a pretty linear campaign experience or co-op campaign experience, you could do that with Destiny 1 and 2. And to me, those games really are the spiritual successor to Halo. It's its own thing, but that's Bungie wanted to do something different, but then they ended up doing something very similar to Halo, just not called Halo. And but it very much, the soul of Halo is within Destiny.
Oh yeah, you could definitely see it.
And I never played Halo 5, so I don't know. Let's see here. Did 343 Industries make Halo 4? I think they did.
They did 4, 5, and Infinite.
Okay, 4 was good. It wasn't the most memorable one, and 5 I never played, so I don't.
I
I,
played 5. Campaign was meh. It was okay.
so I've heard, yeah.
The multiplayer was actually solid. I think people didn't like it because it's when they first branched out of not sticking to the true Halo sense of like there's sprinting or there's different like, odd game modes that they kind of brought in that were, they introduced to their competitive scene. But I think they had some clever ideas, and I put some good hours into that multiplayer, way more than I've put in to start with Infinite.
Well, someday when I finally buy an Xbox, again, I've had the old Xboxes, but I never had an Xbox One, and I've yet to get my hands on a Series X. But when I do, I'll go back and give Halo 5, a
I
playthrough.
think you could play it on Game Pass though on your PC if you want to do that.
You can?
I think so.
I thought that, what? Are you sure? I didn't think they released Halo
I'm not
5 on
positive
PC.
on the
Okay.
PC portion, but
Oh, actually, they did release. I think the only thing from Halo 5 they released on PC was the Forge mode.
oh, you're right. It was just the Forge.
But through that, you could play the multiplayer. So I have sunk a lot of hours into the multiplayer, and yeah, it was pretty decent. I actually liked it.
I thought it run well.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, so I did play a lot of the Halo 5 multiplayer through that. Anyway, man.
Yeah, well, when you do get your Xbox, I'd happily run through a co-op session of 5 again.
Cool. Yeah. I'll need somebody to go through it with, because like I said, I always do the campaign co-op.
Yep.
But you know, on the PlayStation side of things, Sony recently revealed their new PlayStation VR. And it's definitely an improvement. It looks like the resolution's improved. Looks like the head tracking's improved. The controllers are improved, but it's all like small incremental improvements. Well, the resolution's a big thing. I wouldn't say that's small and incremental. But it looks like it's going to be a good product for PlayStation 5. But I think it's still a ways off, and it's probably not going to be cheap when it releases. Hell, right now the PlayStation 5 is not cheap.
I think they're making it more expensive due to inflation and whatnot.
So I'm always kind of like behind the curve. Like I wait for things to get cheaper before I adopt them. And I wanted to try PlayStation VR on PlayStation 4. But for the best experience, you needed a PlayStation Pro. And at the time, I didn't have a PlayStation Pro. And the PlayStation VR headset alone was like $400. And then I don't think it included the remotes or anything. Like that was just for the headset.
There's so many accessories that you can add on to that price.
So when it was all said and done, like you're looking at like $1,200 for a PlayStation 4 Pro and the headset, the controllers, and all that. Plus, and you still got to buy the games.
Right.
But
it adds up.
Yeah, but we're in that sweet spot now. So I eventually did get a PlayStation 4 Pro, and we're in that sweet spot now where the want for an original PlayStation VR has kind of gone away. So right now they are really cheap. I mean really cheap. I got the entire kit, everything you need, the headset, all the plugins, the remotes, for $120 off.
Wow, that's that's enough that I think I would just buy it for sure. I don't even know if I'll play it that much, but at that price, that's a darn good
it's
price.
like, why not? And even looking at eBay right now, there's a listing for pretty much exactly $100 for the whole bundle.
Wow.
So yeah, you can snag one of the, and just the headset you can get for like 70, 80, $90. But so for less
than just for the Beat Saber. That was
man. There's a lot of good, and that's another thing too. Not only are people not looking for the headset right now, they're not looking for the games either. So if you go to GameStop, like all the PlayStation VR games are like $5.
Yeah. So I guess now's the time then.
Yeah, so I got the headset for like $125. I ended up ordering mine from Japan, but they're region free, and there's no difference between the U.S. version and the Japanese version. So it works perfectly fine. And then I went to GameStop and for $25 walked out with a stack of VR games. And so I finally got my hands on that. Finally got to check it out for a fraction of what it cost on launch.
Right.
And it's actually a pretty good VR experience. I was, for just being their first foray into VR, I was kind of skeptical, but the response is good. The resolution is decent enough. Like, it is a good VR experience. So if anybody needs a VR fix on the cheap, you don't have an expensive gaming PC, you don't want to wait for the PlayStation 5 version to release, man, just pick up a PlayStation 4 VR. You can get
you kind of sold me. I've got a PS4 Pro right now, so I mean, it would. Yeah, I mean, I'm always worried about the I guess the motion sickness portion of VR, which is why I've been hesitant to get one, but I feel like I need to at least try it out.
Yeah, that's a good entry point. Have you tried VR at all?
I've never tried VR at all.
Really? Man.
Yeah, I've always been hesitant.
Yeah, you do get motion sickness, and it's never gonna, at least in my opinion, it's never gonna replace just sitting down and playing a game.
Right.
Because I can kick back on the couch and play a game for hours. If I play VR, like maximum is the 2 hour mark, and I'm gonna be taking off my headset with a headache and feeling nauseous. But
Yep.
really, my sessions are usually between like 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, I've seen people play like all the way through Resident Evil 7 in the VR that they have for that now, and I'm like, there's no way I could do that.
Nah, they've got an iron stomach, 'cause, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, man, yeah. In Resident Evil 7 VR, at least until the next PlayStation VR comes out, right now you can only play that on PlayStation VR. The PC version of Resident Evil 7 does not support VR, at least not without mods.
Interesting. Right.
So yeah, you just reminded me. I definitely got to play through that in VR.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool, like, to do it.
Yeah.
It's just I would have to split that up between many sessions.
Yeah, but yeah, it's fun. The first time I tried it was when I was in college. The university set up a VR room, and I think at the time it had the Vive or one of the original models of the Vive in there, and it blew me away.
I remember you sending me some videos on that when you were in that room.
It's good. It's even then it's good. I can't imagine what the top-notch headsets are playing like now, but back then I was really impressed. And you put the headset on and everything is literally, there's depth of field. Like it's 3D.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like you're looking at a screen in front of your eyes. Like you literally see far away and things that are close up. That depth perception, it's just incredible.
Yeah, I have some other friends trying to sell me on VR too. So, I mean, I guess it's just going full circle. I think I have to commit at some point.
Yeah. So you said you do have a PlayStation 4 Pro?
I do. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, man, if you just want to try it, I'll send you this link right now. I'm seeing on eBay for the headset for $100 shipped.
Send it over. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to give it a try and then report back.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there's co-op and multiplayer games on PlayStation VR, as well as PC. But anyway, man, I could go into VR for hours and hours. It's a pretty cool thing.
It's a cool world.
Yeah, I think we should go ahead and call it here for episode 1. If anybody tuned in and made it this far, appreciate that. You can follow us currently. You can follow us on Twitter at Hills Are Silent. And yeah, thanks everyone. We will catch you in the next episode.
Thanks everyone.
Peace.